This is the Content Marketing Podcast, episode number 129, our 2015 half year in review. Hello and welcome to the Content Marketing Podcast. This is the show where we help you attract and retain business through the power of quality content. I'm your host, Rachel Parker of Resonance Content Marketing, and today is July 2nd, 2015. Hello, and thank you for joining us today for episode number 129 of the Content Marketing Podcast. I want to start off with a shout out and a big thank you to our friends at Fit Small Business. They have included the Resonance blog, which we call Ping, the official blog of Resonance Content Marketing. They have included our blog on their list of best small business blogs of 2015. So thank you so much, Fit Small Business. We are honored by this distinction, and thank you for supporting all that we do. Okay, just a reminder, this podcast is live on iTunes and on Stitcher, so if you're listening to this episode on the blog, you can click on over and subscribe, so you get new episodes automatically delivered to your listening device of choice. And if you use a different app for your podcast listening pleasure, we also have an RSS feed, and I will provide that link in the blog post. We are starting a new month, and with it, we are starting the second half of 2015. Yes, the year is halfway over. Okay. Let's all calm down. We have 6 months to go. So all month long, what I'm going to be doing is taking a closer look at the trends that are shaping the future of content marketing, specifically trends that have reared their head in this first 6 months of the year. Okay, in last week's episode, we wrapped up our month-long focus on time management, that was our focus for June, by sharing some tips around the ultimate time management strategy, getting outside help. If you happen to miss that episode, feel free to check it out on iTunes or Stitcher or via the RSS feed. This week we are commemorating the half-year mark by recapping some of the biggest developments from the first half of 2015. But first, it's time to check in with our news feed for this week's rundown of news you can use. Is live video streaming coming to Facebook? Well, maybe. According to a recent post on Marketing Land, which is one of my more trustworthy sources, Facebook just might be considering diving into the growing live video streaming market to compete with, of course, Meerkat and Periscope. And the grounds for this, putting out this possibility, is that Facebook recently sent out a survey to selected users, among which was one of the editors at Marketing Land. And this survey included very detailed questions about their viewing of live streaming video. So, this isn't anything definite. Of course, Facebook is always doing market research, so this isn't necessarily proof that a native live video streaming app or feature is on the horizon, but, it could be coming soon. And folks, I wouldn't be surprised at all to see Facebook jump into this pool. Of course, they like to keep pace with Twitter and with Google, and with the intro of Periscope, both of those. Of course, Google has had live Hangouts on air for quite a while. Given that both of those offer live video streaming features, I would not be at all surprised to see Facebook jump in sometime in the near future. So just something to keep in mind, keep on your radar. Okay, speaking of video, Snapchat. Now, we haven't heard a lot from Snapchat lately, but they are launching native video ads. They are launching a video ad capability called 3V, that's V as in Victor, and that will let you create video ads that are designed for mobile platforms, which is, of course, where Snapchat lives. We haven't talked a lot about Snapchat lately. It's not, I have to be honest, it's not really been on my radar. It's not really big for my clients, but if your clientele is in that 13 to 34 age group, Snapchat might be really worth looking into, not only for content purposes, but also because of these new video ads that they are launching. So something to keep in mind if you're ideal client is in that 13 to 34 age group. You might want to add Snapchat to your list of content marketing tricks. Speaking of video, again, Periscope is enabling web replays of your Periscope videos. So you will now be able to watch replays of Periscope live videos via your web browser, not just via the Periscope app on your mobile device. And I think it's just another way that Periscope is creating a more comprehensive experience and trying to broaden viewership as it gains momentum in that video space. With those live videos being replayed, now you're getting into YouTube's territory. So they're being very ambitious and kind of moving into that recorded video realm as well. So something to keep an eye out for from Periscope. Okay, our content hit of the week is a post called 12 Tools You Didn't Realize Could Send You More Blog Traffic. This is by Shirley Pattison on Jeff Bullis's blog. As bloggers, it is a constant challenge to get more eyeballs on those blog posts. And as the content marketing universe gets more and more crowded, that becomes even more and more of a challenge. So I like this post. It gives some really good tips on using tools to make your post more shareable and also to make your job as a blogger easier. Some of these tools I had not heard of, so they were news to me. And some others, I'd heard of them, but they were talking about Shirley, that is, was talking about some surprising uses of tools with which I was already familiar. So it is quite a good read, highly recommend it, and I will provide the link in the blog post for this episode. Okay, that is it for this week's news feed. If you stumble across something you think might be of interest to your fellow content marketers, please shoot it on over to us so that we can share. Now it's time for this week's Spotlight segment, 2015 Half Year in Review. Hey, happy new half year, 2015. Doesn't quite have the same ring to it, does it? But at midnight on June 30th, we were at the exact midpoint of 2015. So we officially have 6 months down and 6 months to go. So what I wanted to do today is to do a half year in review, look back at the last 6 months and talk about some of the trends that are really impacting how we work and especially how we succeed as content marketers. And these are trends that I think are going to have repercussions far beyond where we are now. And these are trends we're going to be looking back when we do our full year review and saying, wow, that really had an impact on how I do business as a content marketer. The first, of course, is the rise of live streaming video. Now, as we said many times on this podcast, live streaming video is nothing new. Even mobile live streaming video is nothing new. Ustream, for example, has had a mobile app since 2009. So it's been around, it's been available. But with the launch of Meerkat at South by Southwest earlier this year, back in February, there was a renewed buzz around this practice because Meerkat was the first app to really integrate mobile streaming into social media and to make it a more social experience. And then, of course, right after Meerkat launched, Twitter came up with Periscope that, of course, the video plays right there in your Twitter stream. And the two are still kind of duking it out. I think Twitter is winning with all the, with as many resources as it has behind it. That's no surprise. But just a commentary on this development. It's funny to see how things play out in terms of, on the one hand, we are becoming an on-demand culture. We watch our TV shows when we want, where we want, how we want. We take in our radio, we take in our we have our playlists. I know a lot of people don't even listen to radio anymore. We want what we want, when we want it, how we want it. At the same time, there's almost been like, I don't want to say backlash, but almost a reaction to that, in that live events have become, people are craving live experiences more and more. I mean, look at Twitter chats, right? How popular those have become. Look at even unofficial Twitter chats where you're watching something on television and there's a hashtag at the bottom that says, "Hey, tweet live with the cast right now," and giving the hashtag to chat with those cast members. And let's face it, live events are what is keeping network television alive. If you look at the biggest events on live television, it's things like the Super Bowl, it's things like American Idol finales, it's things like the World Series and other live sporting events. The Oscars is another good example. So it's really interesting to see this dichotomy of yes, we want on demand, but man, we're really craving that live experience again. So what live video streaming does is it takes the power of video and taps into that craving for the live experience and really creates kind of the next best thing to being there, to quote an old ad jingle. And one thing I've noticed lately is that this live video streaming is really becoming ingrained in the popular culture. For example, I was at a speaking gig last week, and I noticed that I was looking around as I was speaking. I was looking around, scanning the audience, and I saw the event organizer was holding up her phone. I said, "Oh, she's taking a picture, or she's maybe recording a little snippet to share." But every time I looked over, I saw she still had that phone up. And she said, afterwards, "Yeah, I was periscoping you." And so that's really how popularized live streaming video has become. It's capable. I mean, anyone is capable of it. And because of these newer apps, anyone is capable of sharing it instantly with their audiences. Now, with this development, it's raising some serious issues around things like copyrighted content. If you remember the Mayweather-Pacquiao fight a couple of months ago, some people were watching the pay-per-view match and streaming it on their Meerkat or their Periscope phone. So it raises some very very serious issues that are still being worked out at the moment. So from the marketing standpoint, if you are doing anything live, whether you are putting on a conference, or if your CEO is speaking at an event, or if you've got a anything that's live, that's in the moment, these apps can really help you build buzz around what's going on. And people want to tune in and see the very latest. Like people want to tune into the Oscars and see the winners immediately. They don't want to wait till tomorrow morning to find out. So if your marketing team is involved in any way in live events, you can also use your live streaming apps to create your own events. You can do your own press conferences. I mean, think about it. It used to be the case where if you wanted to have a press conference, you had to pick a location. You had to make sure that enough media people were going to be there to make it look like the real deal. You would have to invite them. You have to re-invite them, make sure they know where it is. And then just kind of hope they show up. Well, with live streaming video, you can capture that press conference scenario through video. So your CEO can sit at his or her desk or in an interview situation and conduct that press conference. So that's another use of live video. Anyway, that's just a couple of uses. We're really kind of scratching the surface of what is possible with these apps and with the social integration. One thing is for sure, live streaming video is here to stay, and as content marketers, we really need to be aware of it and to start really giving a close look to how we can use it for our own brands. So that's the first development that really struck me as something that's going to be important as we look to the rest of this year and beyond. The another issue that was tremendously important is what came to be called Mobilegeddon. You remember Mobilegeddon that everybody was freaking out over a couple of months ago. If you had not heard what it was, Mobilegeddon, and this was not Google's official name for the release, it just kind of, someone used it and sort of caught on. But this was the name given to an update that launched on April 21st, 2015. And basically what it amounted to is, now, since 2009, Google has been incorporating mobile factors in its ranking. So, given two sites of equal of equal weight in terms of the Google algorithm. If they're completely equal, but one is more mobile friendly than the other, then the one that was more mobile friendly would get a boost in those search rankings. So all Mobilegeddon is that Google upped the importance of those mobile friendliness factors in the Google algorithm. So again, two sites being equal, if one is more mobile friendly, it would get a much bigger boost than it had in the past. And of course, people were freaking out, thinking that unless they updated their sites immediately, they were going to be completely wiped out. Not quite the case, but the good news was. It was, and I forget the term for it, but basically if you made your site mobile friendly, you would instantly be able to restore whatever space you lost in those search results. So again, getting back to our work as content marketers, we need to make sure that our sites are mobile friendly. Definitely from a programming standpoint. I know from a personal note, if I pick up my phone and want to pull up a website, I get really annoyed when I get to a non-mobile friendly site. I need to zoom in, zoom out, scroll left, scroll right. And just last night, I had my phone with me. I had shut down my computer for the night, but had my phone with me, and I wanted to make a reservation at our favorite restaurant for my husband's birthday dinner, which is this week. And the restaurant's website, they do take online reservations, but their site is completely unmobile optimized. So, after, pinching and zooming out to figure out where I am, and then figuring out where the forum is, and I just said, oh, heck with it, I'm just going to do this later on my computer. And as it happened, I did. When I booted up my computer this morning, I went ahead and made that reservation. But, and I did that because this is our favorite restaurant and we're going to go there no matter what. But that could have represented a lost customer. As consumers, we expect that mobile experience to be there, whether we're looking up a restaurant or reading a news article or, trying to find out what your phone number is, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. It is expected. It is expected by B2B consumers. It's expected by B2C consumers. So we need to make sure that our sites are mobile friendly. Not only that, we need to make sure our content is mobile friendly. And really, if you've been following the best practices for online copywriting, you're probably in a pretty good space. I would say the rules of mobile copywriting are the best practices of online copywriting to the nth degree, or even more so, or multiplied by 3, whatever you want to look at it. So to appeal to mobile audiences, we need to do things like keep our content right and tight. Longer content is fine as long as you can justify each extra swipe that the user is going to have to do to get to the next paragraph. We need shorter, punchier headlines, which are again, another best practice of online writing that carries through very well to mobile. We also need a strong opener, and this is something that came up in a post that I read recently. I hadn't thought about that, but when people look at whether they're looking at your blog homepage, deciding which blog post to read, or if something comes up in search, they're not going to be able to see much of a descriptor. So we need to make sure that we have strong openers to really entice people to tap on that link. Also, images. Now, yes, again, very, very standard best practice in online writing, but especially on mobile, are people drawn to images even more so than on desktop or laptop machines. So all this comes down to, Mobilegeddon or not, the web is going more and more mobile. Regardless of what Google says, consumers have spoken, and consumers want a mobile-friendly experience. Again, B2B, B2C, whatever. And you know what? I predict we are arriving very quickly at a point where we're going to stop calling mobile, and it's just all going to be the web. Because, it's not a question of, okay, you have consumers and then you have smartphones. And then it was you have computers, you have smartphones, you have tablets. And then it was you have consumers, you have smartphones, you have tablets, and then you have phablets, which are between phones and tablets. And I think that mobile space is just going to keep growing and growing and growing to where it's not even special anymore. It's not even its own category anymore. So if you have not taken those steps to optimize both your website and your content for mobile users, this is a really good time to get that buttoned up as we, kind of a good half year's resolution as we look towards the second half of 2015. Okay, another development, and people really hate when I bring this up. This is when I get tomatoes thrown at me, but bear with me here. It's the growing importance of sponsored content. Let's face it, the web is becoming a pay-to-play world, especially in social media. Earlier this year, we had Facebook's latest update, which gave more weight to Friends update and less weight to Pages. And I laughed when I saw that. I'm like, you're going to make my mobile reach suck even more? Okay. I'm going to go from 2 impressions to 0 or to 1. And I suspect the same is true on LinkedIn. I find that the posts from my LinkedIn page really reach a small percentage of the people who follow me. So, we're getting to the point where if we want eyeballs on our content, we need to put some dollars behind it. And sometimes we need to make significant investments. For example, for my latest webinar, I did a promoted post on LinkedIn, and I paid $6 a click. So, it's not necessarily putting out $5 here and there for a Facebook post. We can really look at some serious dollars. So, my point here is, when you're looking at the role of social media and the role of these different venues, it's really easy to have a wide footprint when everything is free. It just takes, the time and effort to keep everything running, to get those posts posted, to look at the analytics, et cetera, et cetera. But when money starts coming into play, when you look at Facebook and say, okay, zero people are going to see this unless we put some dollars behind it, it really forces the need to back up and take stock and say, okay, what is really important to us from a content marketing standpoint? And that is going to vary from company to company. For example, many B2B companies are going to be standing back and looking at Facebook and saying, okay, is this worth, the question of whether to sit down and do a Facebook post, that's one thing that takes, it's not very intense. But when you talk about actually putting budgetary dollars into it, it becomes a much more serious decision. So, and there's no easy answer to those decisions. The best way to decide is just to experiment. Do some tests with promoted Facebook posts, promoted LinkedIn posts, promoted tweets, and see how that promoted content performs and how it performs for you on a consistent basis. And then that's going to better inform your decision of how to allocate those promoted content dollars. So, not great news for us. I'm sorry to say the free ride is over, but, it is, and this is what we have to deal with, so we might as well adapt and get used to this new environment. So that is my take on the trends that shook things up in the first half of 2015. Let's all see how they play out over the next 6 months and see where we are on December 31st. Curious to see what happens. If you have any questions or want to join the conversation, I would love to hear from you, and I will provide that contact info at the end of the podcast. Now it's time for our content marketing tip of the week. For today's tip, I want to talk about those live video events. Now, we talked quite a bit about live video in today's podcast. And my tip today, I want to talk about how you promote those live events. Now, promoting a live event is very different from promoting something like an ebook or a white paper or some other form of content that is on demand, because live events, by their very definition, they start at a certain time, they end at a certain time, and then that's it. They're gone, they're over. And even if you offer recording, there's not going to be that live experience again. It's going to be done and gone. So you really have to put a lot of thought and effort into promoting those events. And I would say, however intensely you think you may need to promote whatever live event you happen to be planning, I would say multiply that by 3. And again, once it's done, it's done. So you have one chance to get people into the door, so to speak, and to get them into that event. And really, to capture that experience, you need to have people joining you live, joining you there in real time. Like I said, a recording is not going to provide the same experience. So when you look at promoting, you need to really start well in advance. Even start with a save the date. Even if you don't have a title yet, start getting word out to your community. Save the date. We're going to have a great live video event. And then when you follow up, make sure that you're following up in the true fashion of a content marketer, and that is to share little snippets of what people are going to experience. For example, if you have a conference presentation that you're sharing, talk about the speakers, talk about what they do, talk about, oh, did you know that this speaker was a colonel in the Air Force, et cetera, and really start sharing the snippets of content to start building buzz and to start getting people interested, and especially to get them interested in seeing it live. Because we tend to think, whether we are told or not, and I'm saying this from a consumer standpoint, we tend to think, oh, I'm sure there'll be a recording. I can watch that whenever, and then we never get around to it, right? I know I'm guilty of that myself. So you really need to promote it early, promote it often, use all your venues, use your blog, your email list, your social media channels, any other communication channels that you have to really get the word out about this event. Hey, if you want to go direct mail route, go for it. That still works, believe it or not. But keep that flow of communication going right up until the start of the event, because people forget. We are bombarded with information 24/7, and if we keep hearing about this event and keep receiving engaging bits of content for promoting it, then people will respond. So if you do all this, you really stand a solid chance of getting an excellent turnout for your live video content. So promote early, promote often, promote intensely. Okay, campers, that is it for me today. I hope you've enjoyed this episode of the Content Marketing Podcast. Before we sign off, I want to wish all our friends in the United States a very happy Independence Day. Enjoy your couple of days off and enjoy your barbecues and your picnics and, of course, time with friends and family as we wish our nation a happy birthday. And I believe it is birthday number 239, if memory serves. Okay, if you like what you've heard today, please feel free to subscribe on iTunes or Stitcher or via our RSS feed. And if you really like what you've heard, please leave us a quick review on iTunes. For more information about content marketing, you're welcome to visit our website at resonancecontent.com, where you'll also find links to our pages on Facebook, LinkedIn, networks. I also want to invite you to check out our monthly web series. Now, it has been historically on the fourth Wednesday of the month, but this month we're doing something a little different because it is July, it is vacation season. A lot of people are checking in and out as they travel. So this month we are going to do a webinar on demand. So I'm in the process of getting that set up, and as soon as it is ready for release, I will let you know how you can get in on the action. Okay, as always, I like to leave you with a quote, and today's comes from T.S. Eliot. He once said, quote, "Only those who risk going too far can possibly find out how far one can go," unquote. Again, this is Rachel Parker with Resonance Content Marketing. Thank you again for listening, and we will see you again next week. Take care.